If you want a truly sporty sedan but don't have the budget to get an M3 or a C63, you really should consider an Elantra N. With nearly 300 horsepower driving the front wheels, a completely re-engineered suspension derived in part from Hyundai's own race cars, this actually is a serious performer. For 2026, there's even more changes in this refresh versus the one we initially tested years ago. I'm going to drive it to tell you what I really think about it. The Elantra N was brand new for 2022, refreshed for 2024, and nothing like Hyundai has ever made before. Now, the N is not to be confused with the N line. That's really the light version of this car. Now, we've tested the manual, and now we're trying the dual clutch automatic to see what all of the changes are really worth. If you've seen our review of the Elantra N line, you'll notice the front end, the back end, including some of the side, that carries over to the N. But of course, it's the colorways, that red striping along the sills, the extra aggressive radiators, the much bigger exhaust tips, the rear spoiler, all the extra glossy black trim, and of course, these forged wheels. That is not something that you got in the pre-refresh car, and these take off more than 30 pounds across all the corners. It's better for braking too. These are 14.2-inch rotors up front. Very serious, and they're mounted on some of the most aggressive and Hyundai spec tires you can get. Michelin Pilot Sport 4S. That really helps put the power down because remember, it's only a front wheel drive car. Now it's sitting 5.5 inches above the ground, so even though it's dropped, it's not too low. You can drive this Elantra N pretty much anywhere. Performance Blue is a unique color to the N. You can't get it on any other model except for the Ioniq 5N. So this is a limited type of a car. You're gonna notice this as soon as you see it, and of course, when you hear it. The Elantra N is pretty spacious for a small car. These snug bucket seats and the steering wheel, this lets you know that it's just not a regular humdrum Elantra. The Elantra N is still full of very hard plastic. You know that this is a cheap car to start. However, the bucket seats with the Alcantara, the light-up N logo, the leather, the sunroof that comes only with this automatic, and the steering wheel. These are some quality pieces, and they make up for the cheaper materials that Hyundai puts throughout the car. Because remember, this car is just barely over $20,000 to start if you're getting a base Elantra SE. But they've dressed it up just enough to make it feel worth it. The back seat's very spacious, especially when you compare it to competitors, the GR Corolla, a WRX, any number of other cars that feel way tighter. There's a lot of space. The Elantra N's trunk is actually pretty spacious, even among some mid-size sedans. Over 14 cubic feet of space, the seats fold down, but that red chassis brace, which is there for performance, for stiffening the entire chassis so the vehicle handles better, well, that definitely gets in the way of long cargo. The Elantra N has grown up. When I first tested this car in 2022 with the 6-speed manual, it was a lot louder, it was snorting. I actually missed that. What I don't miss is some of the vibrations and honestly, some of the antics that made this car feel a lot cheaper. It doesn't really feel that way anymore. And dare I say it, the reason why I think all this extra refinement is in this car now, it's this dual clutch automatic. I didn't get a chance to test that before. This makes the Elantra N a grown-up car. Not too grown-up, but a lot better than its starting price of around 35 grand would suggest that it should be. It's just much better suited to this engine. Now, there's a lot of torque, 289 pound-feet. 276 horsepower. A lot of turbo pressure in this 2-liter inline 4-cylinder engine. And I think these lower gears in this dual clutch make the best use of that torque. And then at the higher end, it settles down so much nicer. It really does. It makes the Elantra N a much better highway cruiser in a day-to-day car than the Stick. And the Stick, when I drove it, I did not like the clutch feel. I was actually stalling it, and I drive a manual. I've driven manuals for years. That car, you could never really get it right. I don't know if Hyundai has actually made any changes to that. They haven't talked about it since the refresh happened for 2024. I like the fact that there's a Stick. This automatic is actually, it's making me pretty happy. And if you get the automatic, you get 10 extra horsepower by hitting this red button, which effectively turns this into like a push-to-pass function. For 20 seconds, it gives you that maximum boost. And even if you're not in any N driving mode, and there's multiple ones, it'll still drop it down from like 8th to 3rd gear. It's really impressive. The only issue with this being a front-wheel drive car, even with 245mm width tires, they're Michelin Pilot Sport 4S, one of the best summer tires you can get. There's still a lot of power routed to the front wheels, axle hop. And this is something Hyundai, even though they've made a lot of improvements to this car since it came out, still can't get right. The best car in this segment, the front-wheel drive, well, there's actually two. Civic Type R, the Integra Type S. They've completely mitigated that issue, just off the line, in the dry. You don't have that type of issue with those cars. It's not bad in the Elantra N, like not deal-breakingly bad, but you notice it. Once you're underway though, chassis is fantastic. They've added more bracing. The steering feels great. You can adjust all that. I have it right now on a light setting, but there's 2 custom driving modes, just like BMW. It lets you adjust the throttle, the limited slip front diff, how that's reacting, and even the exhaust note, which is really pretty quiet now. But power delivery is great, and I think the dual clutch transmission really pairs better. It brings out more of this engine in all ranges of speed and revs. It really does. And I think these adaptive dampers also work some pretty good magic, because they can get stiff when they're in that sport mode. But when you dial it back down to normal, it rides so much more comfortably. You know it's stiffer than a regular Elantra, but it doesn't feel any different than the Elantra N line, to be honest. And I reviewed that car, watched that one. That has some of the components from the N, but of course, not the engine. Now, a big change in this refresh model, and it carries from 24 to this 2026, forged wheels. It removes 33 pounds of weight, unsprung. That's all the weight that the suspension is not carrying. That means more agility. That's a pretty rare feature in a car for under 40 grand. That's pretty amazing. They've also stiffened the engine mounts. They've changed some of the bushings on the steering and the suspension. They've even increased the tire pressures to handle these new Pilot Sport 4S tires with these wheels, retuned some of the steering mapping. But even so, like, it doesn't do too much because the car already was phenomenal to drive, but it's just that much smoother. It is. They've sorted this out more. When I first drove the Elantra N, it felt like it was a tuner car that hadn't really been fully sorted. Great, but still had some work to do. And now it feels like they've really got it down. It's still really loud. You're never gonna get away from that. A lot of tire noise, a lot of wind noise at all times. It's a bit rough, but these seats are very comfortable. The car is really easy to place. So is it worth the cost of buying 2 Hyundai Elantras? That's a question for you, but if you want to drive, there's not a ton of choices in this segment. There's a handful of them. You got the Toyota GR Corolla, you got the Subaru WRX. Both of those cars give you all-wheel drive. You can't get that here. And there's the Honda and the Acura. You can also get a Volkswagen Golf R, sure. At this price though, with this warranty, and that's not the only thing Hyundai does well, but honestly, the value here is pretty strong. And the car honestly is a lot better in these later model years. I do wish though that they uncorked the exhaust a little bit more, but that's the least of the worries that you could ever have with a performance car. That's an easy change. The suspension, the steering, the feel, the driving position, it's all really good. Now, fuel efficiency, no, it's one of the worst in the Elantra lineup. If you think about what you can get in an Elantra hybrid, this gets, well, not even 30 mpg. The Elantra hybrid is almost double that on the highway. It's pretty impressive, but it's also way slower. So it just gives you an idea of everything you can do with the Elantra. The Elantra N line also gives you a turbocharged engine with a 7-speed, but this 8-speed, and it's a wet clutch, unlike Ford, which For a long time with the Focus, had all sorts of issues with the dry clutch. That's why they were all breaking, and they still do. The wet clutch really gives you, I think, the best of both worlds. You get a really good feel. It's quick, but it doesn't lurch so much. Other people have complained that in traffic, this car tends to clunk a bit. I haven't experienced that, but you have to be aware that as a dual clutch system, you kind of have to feather the throttle at low speeds. It's not going to respond or creep forward like you would expect a regular automatic to do. I think if you're going for a performance car in this price category and you want it to be automatic, this is one of the better choices. The WRX has a CVT. The GR Corolla has a regular 8-speed. It's not nearly as responsive. And of course, the Civic and the Integra and those trims only come with the stick. What's also great is that as you drive the Elantra N, you got all these readouts on the screen. You can see your throttle, you can see your boost pressure. It's really easy. It's not cheesy either. It's just useful information on these displays. They've really taken a page out of BMW, showing all these settings, saving them with these buttons on the steering wheel. But it's simpler to use than a modern BMW. They don't give that many choices. BMW gives too many choices. Hyundai dials it in, and once you have this saved, it's really great, and you can remap these buttons. So if you want the right one to just be the second drive mode, the first drive mode, it's up to you. So the tech in this car helps you actually enjoy driving a lot more than I would say in other cars I've driven in this class. Braking is always strong. You can't go wrong with the Elantra N. Not under 40K, you can't. The Elantra N comes fully loaded with tech. Now this is Hyundai's older OS, so you're noticing these small little graphics. They've since changed all this, thankfully, because I never really liked that, but all of these shortcut buttons, physical controls, setups, this is where it's all really good. Still a little laggy compared to some of Hyundai's newer systems, but again, really easy to use when you're here. A lot of customizations right up front, climate control is right in front of you. But why you really pay for the N is this. You can see all of their information here, even the brake pedal pressure. That's pretty wild. You can custom map from 1 and 2 all of the settings here on the car, launch control, G-force. You go into here, you can even set the RPM for that, when you want the shift light to be on, if the power shift option is going to be there. Again, this is all related to the DCT, it's automatic. That's pretty cool. Lots of great adjustments that you can see here. And if you're going through here, for example, what's nice is that you can go to each of these tiles. And if you're in here, you can see the temperature, speed, everything over time. If you're a data nerd and you just want to see how you're doing, how well you are, you can do it here. And you can also measure your 0 to 60 times, all that stuff. Plus, optimize the car for different circuits, including the Corvette Museum's track. I guess you can do that. This is my home track, Lime Rock Park. It even has the second route, slightly shorter. So stuff like this is what Hyundai is really good at in making this a performance car. Otherwise, there's an 8-speaker Bose stereo, there's navigation, there's not a whole lot of other connectivity features on here. It's still pretty full-featured, but if you want that, you gotta go to Hyundai's other models. The instrument panel, just like other Hyundai models, a lot of information at a glance, really easy. And when you activate N mode, you get the tach in the center, all of your other driving data to the side. You also see just your engine, steering, and suspension settings. It shows you essentially the graphs. There's 3 dashes, so at a glance, you can definitely see that. There's no full screen maps, nothing like that, but when you really want to drive, this is what you want to see. The 2026 Hyundai Elantra N starts at $35,000. As tested with the automatic and performance blue paint and the destination fee, $37,000. Competitors include the Honda Civic Type R, Acura Integra Type S, Subaru WRX, and the Toyota GR Corolla. It isn't just price that puts the Elantra N in a better position among performance cars around $40,000. It's the fact that there's a lot of refinement that Hyundai has baked in and changed since this car first came out. There's a tremendous value here, but it also drives with a refinement that reminds me of a much cheaper BMW M3. That's a really good thing, and if you're looking for a car that does this type of performance and capability, well, there's not too many other choices. It's a great choice. What do you think? Go to cargurus.com, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll see you next time.